Welcome to Cinema Chop Shop. Watch, chop, retrofit.
So I got the shingles vaccine.
I got a new roof too.
Yeah. No, I got called by CVS Pharmacy to say, hey, it's time for this vaccine. You want to schedule it? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll schedule it. So I show up at noon at my time, and they're like, did you make an appointment? And I'm like, you called me and made this appointment. And I ended up waiting half an hour for this pharmacist to get his shit together to give me the vaccine. And now my arm hurts like hell.
And they were mean to you.
They were mean to me.
They asked if you were a bitch.
Well, that's life in the new RFK health system.
Shut up and take it.
I'll tell you what the vaccines. But this is not a healthcare podcast.
Modern America.
Nope.
It's Cinema Chop Shop. It's a movie podcast where we get together every couple of weeks or so and talk about movies and such. And we're glad that you're with us. I'm your host, Shawn. I have a great crew with us today. Mm-hmm. It's a full house. We've got returning guest Lee.
Hola.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes,
and
sir.
We've got Todd.
Howdy.
First one to arrive, by the way.
I saw that.
That was the second time in a row?
That's 2 weeks.
You're
2
on a
weeks in a row?
streak. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we've got Travisito.
Would you say that we're comrades?
Yes, comrades today.
I like that.
We are comrades because we're talking about the Berlin Wall.
Uh-huh.
Everyone old enough here to remember the Berlin Wall.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember when it came down, but I was pretty young.
Yeah, I was in high school, and I remember my teacher telling me that you need to pay attention to this.
Yeah.
This is very significant. And,
Yeah.
of course, fuck you, teacher. You ain't going to tell me what to do. But now, in retrospect, I do realize it was pretty much a big deal. So, for anyone who is too young to remember the Berlin Wall, it was a fortified concrete barrier built by East Germany in 1961, separating West Berlin from East Berlin. Because you see, kids, after the war, Berlin was divvied up into 4 parts from the Allied forces.
Well, pretty much
after
all
World
of
War
Europe.
II.
It just happened to cross the city of Berlin.
Right there in Berlin. And so as Russia was starting to exert their power in the Cold War, they felt it was time to separate the two. And of course, publicly they were saying it was to keep the bad capitalism out, but in actuality, it was to keep their people in because they were trying to get the fuck out. They didn't like it, and they didn't want to be there, except for the few dyed-in-the-wool Reds who supported the whole political system. But for the most part, people were trying to get out, and this was a means to keep people contained. The wall started out very simply as a barbed wire fence, and then very quickly it erected into this pretty hefty concrete brick wall with guard posts and, as legends go, electrified fences with sensors and automatic guns that would shoot you if you even touched the fence. I think the number of people attempting to cross the Berlin Wall over time was somewhere like around 50,000.
Wow.
And I think the number of people who actually succeeded was like 5.
That makes sense.
5,000.
Wow.
And
Oh, I thought you were
Can
saying
we-
5 times.
no, not 5 people.
Can we
I was like,
talk
hey,
about
Hey, more 5 people made it out of my movie.
Can we talk about the real victims though?
Who's
of the Berlin Wall and really of the Cold War in general? Me and other Portland Trailblazer fans, and I'm talking about a certain dilemma
Sabonis.
called the young Sabonis dilemma. Arvydas Sabonis was a Lithuanian basketball player who was a dominant force in the world, who played behind the Iron Curtain. He played for the Soviet Union national team, and he was allowed to enter the NBA draft in 1986 and was drafted by the Portland Trailblazers. And had he been able to come over to the NBA and play, he would have joined a starting lineup that included Clyde Drexler, who comparable to Michael Jordan's skill set. Because of the Cold War, he wasn't allowed to come to the United States for nearly a decade. Later, at the age of 30, he came over in 96.
And his knees were in bad shape.
And he was worn out. He was still fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But he's comparable in his prime to Jokic.
Yeah,
People talk about how Jokic is a prototypical of the Sabonis
The passing.
center.
Great passer.
His versatile skill set, in international dominance. He won FIBA championship. He won a gold medal. And he won a gold medal at the Olympics, defeating the United States. This is prior to the Dream Team.
So the wall famously came down in November of 1989, and I think that It was one of the few memorable things from George Bush the First's presidency.
They always give Reagan the credit for it.
But
though,
this isn't a history podcast. So, yes, of course, once it came down, then reunification began. There's some amazing imagery available. You can check it out online if you've never seen it before, because this is during the era of television, 24-hour news cycle. You had people climbing all over the wall. You had people tearing into the wall and taking chunks of it.
Yes,
as
you can
souvenirs.
still find pieces of them. They're
I have
collector's items.
I have one little thing that I didn't even think about talking about. I have a friend of mine who was dating this girl who was from Germany, and he went to stay with her at that exact same time. When it came down, went to it, took pieces off, chipped it off like you're talking about, took a big picture, and of course he's like, he's got a big goofy grin, and somewhere at my dad's house there is a little homemade poster with pieces of the Berlin Wall upon it.
Nice.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it is a big deal. I remember as a child, my parents had Reader's Digest, and I remember reading like a little short story novella type thing about a spy who was trying to get over the wall and all the things he went through. And it was a big motif in espionage during the 80s. It was a literal personification of the Iron Curtain.
My uncle's got a piece of the Challenger.
Wow.
Not the same.
Oh, God.
Not the same thing.
Not
Never
the same
mind.
thing. A little morbid.
Too soon.
Yeah, no, not too soon. Just morbid still. Eternally so. We're going to talk about a movie that, and Travis made a joke when I announced this episode. He said, you'll just look for any excuse to talk about Wings of Desire. And I do. It's one of my favorite films of all time. It's from 1987. It's directed by Wim Wenders.
Yes.
It stars Bruno Ganz and Solveig Dammartin, the two German actors, as well as Otto Sander, who is the other German actor, and the actress Solveig Dammartin, Peter Falk, and Nick Cave. Of all people.
Of all people.
Of
I did
all
not see
people.
that coming because I went in so blind.
So Wings of Desire is one of cinema's loveliest city symphonies. Bruno Ganz is Damiel, an angel perched atop buildings high over Berlin, who can hear the thoughts, fears, hopes, and dreams of all the people living below. When he falls in love with a beautiful trapeze artist, he is willing to give up his immortality and come back to Earth to be with her. Made not long before the fall of the Berlin Wall, this stunning tapestry of sounds and images shot in black and white and color by the legendary Henri Alecan forever made the name of director Wim Wenders synonymous with film art.
You could guess probably that the director Wim Wenders probably really liked The Wizard of Oz with the transition from black and white to color, because it is jarring.
Yeah, it is.
Did not expect it because I went in fairly blind as well, but just gorgeous and an interesting take that when the angels would accept mortality, become human, then they see the world in color and can taste things, and interesting choices.
Yep. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the whole film was shot in both colors, black and white and color, so that in the editing process they could
seamlessly
scenes they were going to
awesome.
switch, which I thought was interesting.
I liked how it felt dreamier in black and white, and the color was really solid. I mean, it's just all of a sudden you're in it. It's completely different. And it's not that sort of Vaseline on the lens kind.
Well, I do have a fun fact about that. At the end, I'll tell you.
I think I know what you're going to go into. As it pertains to this episode, the Berlin Wall serves as a powerful metaphor for the divided state of Germany and its impact on the lives of its citizens. The film explores the wall's physical and metaphorical constraints, highlighting both its oppressive nature and the hope that it generates through street art and graffiti. There is a great scene at the end of the film, and that's jumping ahead, where the trapeze artist addresses the camera directly, and it's clearly...
She breaks the fourth Berlin Wall.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good one. It clearly is a challenge to the powers that be that, the time is now. We must make a decision. This has to happen. Something needs to move. But I'm getting ahead of ourselves. First-time viewings for... Lee and for
Myself,
Travis.
yes.
You saw it just last year, Todd.
Yes, I watched it for our Cinema Chop Shop Challenge and just just in December, so this was second view.
I watched it in college. We had an English professor who did like an art house movie night kind of thing at the little cafe on campus, and this was the first one I saw, and it blew my mind. It was one of those kind of this is what film can be kind of moments.
I was wondering what made this movie stick out to you as a favorite.
Yeah,
that makes sense though.
And it was. Again, it came out right before the fall of the Berlin Wall. I watched it after, so it was still topical and timely to see it in the early 90s. But the Berlin Wall, of course, plays a visual role in this film as well. Several scenes are shot of the angels walking right behind the wall. There are things that happen in the, I don't know if you'd call it what's the negative zone or whatever, the zone between the two sides where they actually look at your papers and do office work kind of thing. A lot of stuff that happens in that space where they still had permits to shoot. But the Brandenburg Gate, of course, the big fixture in Berlin, plays a huge role with the Berlin Wall because it is a thoroughfare between the two sides for those who have the access to be permitted. Peter Falk.
Indeed.
I mean,
Meta before meta. Wow, that was just, and he's great. And because I guess if you haven't seen it by now, spoilers. But the fact that he eventually says, "Yeah, I used to be one of you guys," and I saw a review where somebody's like, "I'll never watch Columbo the same."
Right.
Because that's essentially what he was doing, was playing Columbo.
He really was.
Or is that just Peter Falk? Was he like that all the time?
Because he essentially is in Princess Bride.
Right.
Yeah.
He's the same guy.
It looked. I thought the same thing every time with the hats and the voice and life's not fair, kind of thing.
I loved him sitting around drawing the actors, doing
great.
sketches and things, and his commentary.
And he's like, "This is a terrible sketch." It's just.
For those who have not seen the film, Peter Falk is playing himself. He's been cast in a role in a film set during World War II in Berlin, and so it's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. We never actually see him shooting, I don't think, the film.
No, we don't.
But
there is one scene
just
where they
kind of
show
out and
him on
about.
TV acting. I don't know.
that or he's doing an interview with the media talking
felt like
about
that's what it
being
Maybe
in
that's
town
what
for
it
the
was.
film.
Okay.
Yeah. But as we mentioned, Bruno Ganz and Otto are these two angels who they're just doing their assignment. And there's a scene in this really large library, which is a great illustration of how many angels there are, because it seems like there's probably about 12 or 13 of them just kind of...
And we know that they're
running
angels
around.
because they notice each other.
They notice each other, right. And of course,
But they're invisible to us.
they don't have...
except for children.
Children and the innocent, feeble-minded people tend to kind of see them as well.
Yeah.
But I love how you'd be walking along and also it's like, and the shot would be going for, let's say, the 2 seconds. It's like, oh crap, that's an angel. It's just so innocuous and so simple because they're like their friends. They're leaning over shoulders. They're hand on a shoulder. Paying attention.
Yeah. And there are some good shots where Wenders uses sculptures and things and architectural elements in Berlin to like they back up against what look like wings and things like that.
Yeah.
The
Gorgeous shot.
Some really neat things there. The thing that surprised me about this movie is that it was really loosey-goosey going in.
Yeah, at the beginning of it,
Them did not have a concise vision for what he wanted to do. He had his screenwriter. He said, I kind of want to do a movie about angels. Okay, well, what do you want to do? And it was really amorphous. And then they kind of said, well, we want Bruno and Otto to be in it. And so they brought them in and kind of told them what the pitch was. And even then, they didn't have a screenplay.
They just knew they wanted guys who had worked together, who had camaraderie.
And
built in.
wasn't it graffiti of angels on the wall that let's do a movie about an angel, and then
it was all just kind of things that he was carrying around in his mind, and it didn't really have a clear vision of what he wanted. And
there was like an outbreak almost of angel graffiti in Berlin at that time.
Yeah,
they was
and that
like
was
symbolic.
And even when they pulled Peter Falk in, they still didn't have a concrete script in place. And he was like, "Okay, cool, I'm on board." It was just like this almost like an ensemble effort.
It's an improvisational ensemble effort.
Yeah, it's really weird because it comes across as very well crafted, very purposeful, and very meaningful.
Very specific.
Yeah, and so when I learned that everything was kind of fly by the seat of their pants, I was really blown away.
Because those vignettes at the beginning, you need that to set up the desire, quote unquote, for the angel. It's Damiel, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that. Why does he want to become a human? Why is he not happy to be an angel? And so these vignettes kind of we're following him around, and we're seeing that he wants to be able to have the feelings, the sensations that people have, good or bad.
I have a quick grotesque connection. At a certain point, I was watching it, and when the angels suggest how long they've been there, specifically in that location on planet Earth, what will become Berlin.
Before there were people.
I thought of Dogma. I thought of Loki and Azrael, because it's kind of the same thing. They just get punked right down. It's almost like
I'm sure Kevin Smith had seen that movie.
I'm sure he had, and now I've got this whole new thing. It's like, well, look.
It's funny. It's funny you should mention Dogma, because the angel armor is only really seen when Damiel crosses over,
and he sells it.
He's clunked in the head with it. He gets a head wound. Then he sells it.
Then he tastes his own blood.
He goes, oh, it has a taste.
He likes it.
He's like, that makes sense.
I love it when he sells it though. And Peter Falk's like, yeah, you got ripped off. But that happens.
That happens. Again, getting back to the fly by the seat of their pants nature of the film, they didn't know if they were going to even use this armor that they had crafted for them.
Cool.
Because the early test screenings have them actually wearing it during the film in their angel roles. And so it's kind of cool that it just kind of manifests itself when he crosses over, and that's all you really ever see of it.
And you know what? One last Dogma connection. Even the way that Ben and Matt are dressed is very reminiscent of these two guys. Just kind of just bundled up, cold weather guys.
Yes.
You know, because you got to cover the armor, and you got to cover the wings and all that good stuff.
And it's kind of interesting too. It actually makes sense that Falk was in sort of that improvisational movie, because we all know him as Columbo, but he was also one of the group of actors that John Cassavetes would frequently use in his sort of improvisational style. Cinema verite cinema, so it would make sense why someone with experience like that would be involved with the project.
Won some pretty big awards too. Vendors won awards for Best Director at both Cannes and the European Film Awards. It was a critical and financial success, and academics have interpreted it as a statement of the importance of cinema, libraries, the circus, or German unity, containing New Age, religious, secular, and other themes. I have a question. Do you think that the contrast between the black and white scenes and the color scenes are supposed to be like a metaphorical juxtaposition of capitalism and communism?
I can see that.
I don't know if it's that literal, but it is an illustration of that separation.
Yeah. Color is freedom. Black and white is the restriction.
But the world with color also comes at a cost.
Pain.
Which was kind of
Pain
that wasn't that sort of the subtext behind the Wizard of Oz, right? Color were in Oz, capitalism, and then the man behind the curtain that's, you know,
is that highbrow enough for you?
I don't know. I mean, now we need to pull in David Lynch and talk about his interpretation of Wizard of Oz.
And give big props to when I was watching the credits. I was like, Claire Denis is
Yeah,
the DP.
yeah,
She's the
that's
DP, the
interesting,
deep
yeah.
penetration. I was like, holy crap! Look at that.
So speaking of highbrow, there was a remake of this film.
God.
City of Angels.
Oh God, yeah.
With Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It's
that's
horrible.
right.
Real
with
bad.
that Goo Goo Doll song that I never want to hear
And
again.
Andre Braugher as the unhappy angel.
I watched that movie, and the whole time I was like, you missed the whole point of the
Totally.
fucking original.
Totally did.
And there's a sequel called Far Away So Close. Has anybody seen
I've
the
seen
sequel?
it, and I did not enjoy it as
Did
much
Vendors
as I
do it?
hoped. Yeah.
It won the Grand Prix jury prize at Cannes, but enjoyed less critical and commercial success than its predecessor.
Yeah, it just didn't have the same kind of magic. I don't think. I think they were just. It's like it's one of those things. You just tie it up in a bow and leave it alone.
Yeah.
I don't know why they felt the need to go back to the well on that one.
Did they make that one after City of Angels came out? The
I
American version?
don't think so.
No, I think I think
no.
I saw when I was 93 or something was the sequel. I want
Yeah,
say.
93.
Yeah.
And 98 is City of Angels.
Okay.
Now, Travis, you have some trivia or
A fun
fact. Hit me with that one, and I'll see if it matches up with mine.
All of the black and white sequences were shot through a one-of-a-kind filter, that's using the term loosely, made from a stocking that belonged to cinematographer Henri Alacan's grandmother.
This is mother, is what I heard.
Okay?
He made it in the 1930s.
Oh.
Yeah, that filter was from the 30s. This guy, he was pulled out of retirement to make this movie.
I was going to say, how old was this?
80 years old at the time.
Wow.
He was the photographer in the old German Beauty and the Beast movie.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So now you kind of get an idea of why it has this neat look to it.
Wow.
That's not just black and white film. It's got some nuance to it too.
It does.
Another fun fact, filming the actual Berlin Wall was prohibited, so a replica wall twice had to be built close to the original.
Really?
Huh.
The first fake wall warped in the rain because the contractor cheated the producers and built it from wood.
You got ripped off, but that happens.
Yeah.
Nice. As I mentioned earlier, Nick Cave is in the film.
Yeah.
And the Bad Seeds. I texted
Yes.
Travis last weekend as I was watching this movie for the seventh time. I had always thought that Nick Cave was in both scenes featuring his music. The first scene is kind of at a club, and it's got to be a cover band because that's not Nick Cave singing. And I was like, wait a minute, is he not in this movie? So if you look at Nick Cave's IMDb page, this movie's not listed. And so I started doubting myself, and I'm texting Travis going, he's not in the movie, but I thought he was. And then I wrote him back, and I was like, no, I'm wrong. He's in the second appearance of the band, and that is at
Which
the
is
end of
weird.
the film.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. But it's funny for Nick Cave fans, there's a song that he sings called From Her to Eternity, and that is featured in the film.
Yeah.
And anytime he performs it live, he says, I want to sing a song about a girl. And that's how he intros the song. And true to the movie, you get to hear some of his inner thoughts walking up to the microphone, and he says, I'm not going to sing a song about a girl. I'm not going to sing this song about a girl.
Yeah.
I'm going to sing a song about a girl.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fuck, man, that's so cool.
And the trapeze lady this was her debut film, and she was in a relationship with vendors.
Yes.
And she later died of a heart attack in Paris at the age of 45.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, very unfortunate. I thought she was delightful in this movie.
Really
Yeah.
pretty.
And an amazing trapeze artist.
Yeah. Yeah, she's pretty good.
Which she learned for this movie.
No.
She did
Yeah.
not know
Oh
that
my
prior.
God.
That's impressive.
I'm getting the Criterion edition. I'm getting it.
Yeah.
I've got the regular. I hope that there's a 4K because I'd like to upgrade mine copy. Dynamite movie. I'm glad you guys watched it. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I was skeptical going in just because you like it so much, but I ended up enjoying it a lot.
It holds up very well for a film that was put out in '87. So I dig it. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to watch it.
It's hypnotic.
Hey, before we go to intermission, I haven't really. I kind of glossed over it. There are a lot of films about the Berlin Wall that we're not going to talk about today, and I didn't know if anybody wanted to just throw out some films that may have been left on the cutting room floor, so to speak. I mean,
Pink Floyd's The Wall.
I was going to say that although not literally, clearly influenced by the Berlin Wall. You've got the Tom Hanks movie Bridge of Spies.
Yeah.
Oh,
That-
I've never seen that one.
It got an Oscar nomination when
It
it
was the
first
actor.
came out.
I can't remember the one that Spielberg likes so much. I can't remember right now, but yeah, it did get the Oscar.
Mark
nomination.
Rylance.
Thank you. That's who it is.
Yeah.
I think he won for that.
Is Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy?
It's Cold War.
Cold War,
yeah,
yeah.
Berlin, okay.
Yeah.
Because I even thought about the film Cold War, and I was like, no, that's not really about the wall so much. That's about the time and the circumstance. Right?
And going back a couple of weeks when we were talking about our anti-war films, I can't believe that we did not talk about Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, how do we? Wow.
We
wow.
totally did not mention that. But anyway, we're not perfect, obviously. And
Oh, apparently the Bond film Octopussy.
yes,
Oh my
was-
God.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I love that one. I
Yeah.
actually saw that 3 times when it
The
came out.
Chronicle of the Octomom.
Yeah, the Chronicle of the Octomom. Speaking of James Bond movies, before we go to intermission, R.I.P. to Joe Don Baker. He was in
Yeah.
GoldenEye,
Brad Whitaker.
and a couple of other films.
That was his character. I remember that.
Yeah, I thought about doing a Joe Don Baker bracket episode, but I don't know if anybody wants that.
Let's just do Mitchell.
Mitchell is the best. If you've never seen Mitchell, watch Mitchell. Mitchell is the redneck James Bond. I think
It
it's pretty
is.
pretty fair to say.
That's pretty accurate.
It's awful.
Oh, it's delightfully
It is a
awful.
Mystery Science Theater 3000 mainstay.
It's a classic of theirs. Yeah.
All right, but that's it. Enough about that. I think it's time that we go into intermission, but not before we say,
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby
and get ourselves some meat. How can you have your pudding if you don't eat your meat?
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack. We promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go.
And we're back. A couple of us peed in the yard, but not all of us.
Not everybody.
Not yet.
We're going to soldier on and talk about the Berlin Wall even more with our individual picks. Lee, you've got the seat of honor, so you can begin with your movie.
Okay. I chose from the Walt Disney Company 1982's Night Crossing from director Delbert Mann, starring John Hurt, Jane Alexander, and Beau Bridges. For some reason.
More like Doe Bridges.
What year did you say?
82.
82. So this is Disney in the same era as Watcher in the Woods.
And Tron.
Which scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Black
and
hole.
like it's
What's
not
Black Hole?
scary.
It's a great, weird, messed up era. I'm glad that because this is like the one I hadn't seen. And I'm really glad I finally got to see it because it is that money-losing time where you have these odd, great movies.
They lost their moral compass, in my opinion. They had no idea what they wanted to be.
No, they didn't.
All right, this movie, tell us about it.
Okay, this movie basically takes place, again, on the East German side of the Berlin Wall. We meet two families, both living with communism, just dealing with the life where they live, not wanting to be there, but not really being able to do anything about it, as most people couldn't. As it turns out, they're friends with the third family, and the son of that third family decides he wants to get through. He wants to break free. He wants to get to the other side of that wall, and his master plan is to steal a backhoe, essentially, and run it through the wall in the hopes that he can make it.
Killdozer.
He tries to go on Killdozer, and he does manage to kill a couple of German communist soldiers, but he fails to make it through. And unfortunately, while under pressure, makes a go at it, grabs the fence, and is instantly riddled with bullets right there on the spot. And I mean, they riddle him good. Even when he falls to the ground, there's a little bit of blood coming out. And as the soldiers come up, the main soldier's like, leave him alone. We'll come back and get him later. So you get the cold, hard brutality of communist, thinking. Immediately, though, you cut to a picnic where turned out all three of these families are together. And as it goes, officials come up and whisk away the family of the boy who's been killed and separate them cold-bloodedly, from car to car.
Sure glad that doesn't happen anymore.
No, I'm sure that never happens anywhere on planet Earth.
Never. Anywhere.
No, not in Qatar. But as it goes, they discover what has happened, which is the boy is dead and basically the family is in trouble. This builds the resolve of the main character of the film, played by John Hurt. He needs to get his family out of there. And not only that, he wants to get his friend and their family out of there. And so they construct a plot. Initially, in real life, and they briefly mentioned it, they talked about building a helicopter.
Okay.
But just figured that would take too much time. That was the only reason they didn't do it. But
That's the only reason.
That's the only reason. But they come upon the plan to build a hot air balloon. Through the use of physics, design, gumption, and a lot of luck, which I imagine it had to do a lot with it, they decided to construct a balloon to escape, which will hopefully carry 8 people, 2 families.
Hell yeah.
It's a bold escape movie, and it's a cut above your usual Disney fare. It's still a little peppy at times. It's not perfect, but at the same time, it's got good thrills, and it's got a kick-ass score.
No, it doesn't.
By the great one, Mr. Jerry Goldsmith.
Fuck Jerry Goldsmith.
Don't listen to him. Don't listen to anything he says. It's got an awesome score that'll get you right there in the credits. You get great performances, especially by John Hurt and Jane Alexander, who each cry on camera, at their designated times. You get an oddly out-of-place performance by Beau Bridges.
Yeah.
As a German.
Who put Beau Bridges in this movie?
All I can figure is that's made around the same time as Tron. I smell a deal. I smell a deal. The Bridges boys.
So they already had Jeff, and he's like, I got a brother. Okay.
Sure, let's put him in this movie. Let's let him play German. Let's see if he'll stick with it. And he did.
Wait, didn't Lloyd Bridges do something with Disney? The Sequest or something? Was
Yeah,
that Disney?
It might be.
It might be. Okay.
It may be.
Nepo baby episode. I'm telling you.
So the plan comes together to basically do an escape, to get out of there. And as things start to come together, the Beau Bridges family, his wife is very scared and very worried and very skeptical. And they back out of it. Is it okay if I go ahead?
Pussies.
They do. And John Hurt's family decided we got to do it right now. We got to do it, and they do it, but they don't make it, and the balloon goes down. The long and short of it is, they're not going to give up.
They had a good test run.
If at first you don't succeed.
Proof of concept.
And walk their asses home. They do. It seemed like they took a while for them to get home from that weekend trip.
Sharks,
took
I'm
them
here today to
180
seek your
days.
investment in my hot air balloon. Who's with me?
All the while, once they crash right there at the gate, because it's like you said, it's not really a wall; it's more of a fence with wires.
They're
and barbed
crossing
wire.
in a zone that's like a 3-mile zone of the border that has like this undelineated kind of area. They know that they can't get into that zone, but it's not like a hard and fast wall where they're going.
But they fall short of their attempt, and luckily sneak away. As of course the officials come to investigate what's going on and begin investigating very hard.
And who is the lead German in charge of this whole pursuit?
I just saw him on Boys from Brazil.
It's Slugworth from Willy Wonka.
Oh wow!
That's who it is.
It's fucking Slugworth.
Dude,
and I was like, oh my god, this has to be a Disney movie if they're using Slugworth as their fucking bad guy.
My wife said, because she called me, she watched it with me. She's like, this guy plays the German in every movie he's in. I said, and I didn't say he's probably German, but nonetheless, it's like you're right. He does wind up playing the German bad guy in every movie he plays. It seems like, but as it goes, though, the families decide to take another shot at it. Bo Bridges' his family decide, yeah, we want to go too. So the plan is to make a hot air balloon that will traverse 8 people, adults and children, across the wall.
And of course, by this time, they're trying to source the
Fabric. Where did they get the fabric?
They were going to all of these stores, and they're saying that like we're looking to make sleeping bags for our basically a Boy Scout troop. There's like 100 of them, and we've got to make sleeping bags for all of them. And that's where the noose is tightening around them. And they're like, one person's like, "Wait right here. We're having it brought in from the warehouse." And he goes in his office and picks up the phone. And John Hurt's like, "I'm getting the fuck out."
Also, be prepared for such exciting scenes as 2 actors sewing.
Yeah.
With their feet.
Sewing and working with blowtorches. Yeah.
And cutting patterns.
This movie could have been about 20 minutes.
It could use a little fat trim.
Yeah,
it was. There's a lot of extraneous stuff. But that being said, John Hurt's great. I'll give him a pass.
Rest in peace.
He's still sexy as hell when he smokes a cigarette. Because he looks exactly like he did in Alien. He does. He's just got that look about. It's like, as it goes, our protagonists, make their run for it with the bad guys closing in rapidly, and as they do manage to make it across.
Forever, I thought that the actor John Hurd was John Hurt. I didn't know John Hurt actually existed. I thought John Hurd was named John Hurt and that he was William Hurt's brother.
Let's see that. I can see the connection.
So this actual crossing took 26 minutes. It's based on a true story.
Yeah.
Yep.
So 26 minutes it took them to light up and put down. And they don't really know if they've made it or not. They run out of fuel.
Oh, man.
And they like kind of drift into
which is kind of what happens in the test run.
Yeah.
It just kind of starts to, they start losing the flame.
But they completely tapped out all their fuel, and so they land, and they're like not sure. So the family's like in the woods, and
They leave the kids and the wives
And
back.
John and Bo go out into like this farmhouse, and soon the police come by, and they're like, "Are we in the West?" And he said, "But of course."
Yes, yes.
I mean,
Why wouldn't you be?
If you weren't, would he be telling you the truth?
And then, for those not listening to the dialogue, Jerry Goldsmith beats you over the head with the triumphant music.
It's so good. The whole time it propels this movie. It's what makes it shine.
Emotions in the proper register.
Sure. I don't like being told what to think.
And so no spoilers, but they make it, right?
They do make it. They do. I mean,
And it was real people. It's a true story.
It is based on a true
Walt
story.
Disney paid for those families to actually come over and go to the premiere and stuff. And one of the 2 families went on to found Wetzel's Pretzels, and you can find those at a mall near you.
no way.
No way.
That's true.
It's not true.
Oh, okay. I love it. I'm a good sucker.
I thought that was your fun fact.
I really did too. I bought your pitch.
But one of the families was named Wetzel.
That's true.
So that's where I was going with that. I do have a fun fact.
Please.
Oh shit! It's that they flew in the 2 real families who made the night crossing to meet the actors who portrayed them in the film.
Oh, that's a letdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're playing me, Bob Bridges? What is this?
Oh, good. Oh, thank you for that report. I did not enjoy this movie.
It
Sorry.
was okay. No. I mean, I know I'm really propping love because it was one of those I kind of just went in there like, I hope this is good, and I realized, like you said, Bonnie, you said, well, that was all right.
Yeah.
But it was what it was, but it filled in that dark gap.
It's that
of those dark Disneys.
directionless Disney.
Really.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right, Todd, what's up?
Okay, so I chose for this one the 1965 British spy thriller, The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. It's based off of a John le Carre novel, the great spy novelist. And it's directed by Martin Ritt, who probably best known for HUD, which was Paul Newman,
right? Yeah.
Western, and he was nominated for Best Director for that film. And it stars the great Richard Burton, probably one of my favorite of the classic actors, and in what I would consider to be a very dour, unglamorous counterweight to the James Bond, typical spy.
Yeah, he's an
007.
anti-Bond for
Yeah,
sure.
correct. So at the height of the Cold War, British spy Alec Leamis, which is Richard Burton's character, is nearly ready to retire. But first, he has to take on one last dangerous assignment. Going deep undercover, he poses as a drunken, disgraced former MI5 agent, military intelligence, in East Germany in order to gain information about colleagues who have been captured. When he himself is thrown in jail and interrogated, Leamis finds himself caught in a sinister labyrinth of plots and counterplots, unlike anything in his long career. So, this is a movie you really have to pay pretty close attention to.
Yeah.
And it's a slow burn to begin with. I enjoy it. I mean, I don't mind the slow burn. As we're
But
getting
it's
to
a
know.
full hour of setup.
Yes.
Yeah.
We see at the beginning of the film, they're at the Berlin Wall, and they're waiting for one of Leamis's agents to come across on a bike. He ends up getting killed. After this agent gets killed, he goes to see Control, who is assigned him to go undercover into East Germany as essentially a double agent to pretend like he's a defector by being an alcoholic. He's got to pretend like he's an alcoholic, etc. And then
that scene where he gets really drunk, or I don't know if he even is really drunk, but beats up the shopkeeper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was, you felt really bad for the shopkeeper and for him, kind of, because he didn't really want to do that. He just had to.
Yep.
So that he would be approached by those East German handlers.
Yeah, and you see him having a moment when, like, I think he really does get drunk. Because I mean, you can't get drunk and you can't fake getting drunk. Like
he was
in
a
terms
notorious
of
real
people
life
are
drinker.
going to smell you, and you got to have that smell. Plus, yes, Richard Burton famously was a drunkard. In any case, yes. So he's trying to draw the attention of the East German intelligence community in order to convince them that he's a defector, and so that he can convince them that this guy Munt is a British spy.
Right.
So that Munt is a double agent, essentially. And so he ends up hooking up with this guy Fiedler, who becomes essentially his handler. And he's supposed to be giving them information, pretending to be, and he gives them information about Munt that he's pretending it's unwitting, because he pretends like he's saying, no, he's not really.
But it is incriminating, and Fiedler is already dislikes Munt and is suspicious of him. So that
and Munt is Fiedler's handler. That should be noted. So basically, eventually, Munt supposedly finds this out, arrests Fiedler and Leamis, puts them on trial.
Tribunal.
Backing up a bit, Leamis has fallen in love. His job, his cover job, was in a library as a library assistant.
Wasn't that a setup as well? Because wasn't he supposed to fall in love with her specificis because she was a member of the Communist Party?
That part's a little less clear, but it certainly is possible that's
I think it's insinuated in the final conversation they have in the car. She says, "What about love?" And he basically says, "They played us like fools. We did exactly what they wanted us to."
Right. I mean, it certainly could be.
But yes, his true feelings are revealed at the end.
Yeah. But back up though, she works in the library and is a member of the British Communist Party, very idealistic, etc. And she ends up getting, used in this trial. They kind of fall in love, and he has been feeding her money through one of his contacts, and that is how they figure out. They bring her. She doesn't know what's going on, of course, and she sort of spills. I'm giving spoilers, but whatever.
Right.
Just tune out if you don't want to hear them. But she spills the beans that about this. That this handler's been giving her money because he said he's broke, essentially. And Fiedler has been trying to prove that Munt is a British spy. The court finds that no, it's actually Alec Lemus who is the spy. He admits to it once all this goes down. Doesn't want the girl to get into trouble. But then we get the nice little twist, which it turns out that Munt, who he thought that he was supposed to set up as a British spy, even though he really wasn't, was actually a British spy.
Right.
And breaks him and the girl out of jail.
And the whole thing was orchestrated to get rid of Fiedler.
Yes.
Because Fiedler was suspicious of Munt.
Correct. They wanted to get Fiedler out of the picture. And so Munt sends them to the Berlin Wall, and they're supposed to climb over the Berlin Wall and escape.
He tells him, pull the girl over after you.
Yes. That's another setup because they can't leave the loose string of the girl because she's a wild card. She's idealistic.
She knows.
She might
she
spill
asks
the beans.
about this. She's like, I'm a danger to him.
Yep. They shoot her. They try to get Alec, to still go over the fence. He won't. He goes back down to her body, and they're like, well, we got to shoot
him too. Yep.
So he gets shot, and then there's this dour score that kind of ends the film. There's a great score in the film, too, by the way.
By Jerry Goldsmith.
It's not.
So it's a really cool film, I think. It's not the typical, like I said, the James Bond, you got the good guys and bad. We don't know who the good guys and bad guys are here. We don't know. There's no morality established. There's no moral center established.
They're all cogs in the machine.
Exactly.
And that's what's evident in this film is that
Yep.
they are just being played because they have a role.
Yep.
And he's pretty disillusioned about the whole thing, too.
Right.
It's basically just a job for him.
Right.
And he's getting into that Danny Glover.
I'm too old for this
So
shit.
close to retirement.
Yeah, and the contrast between her idealism
Yep.
and his kind of having given up on that.
And at the end, there is a great little line that he gives, or a speech that he gives to that effect, because she's still idealistic, like, what about the morality, essentially, is what she's saying. And he says, what the hell do you think spies are? Moral philosophers measuring everything they do against the word of God or Karl Marx? They're not. They're just a bunch of seedy, squalid bastards like me, little men, drunkards, queers, henpecked husbands, civil servants playing cowboys and Indians to brighten their rotten little lives. Do you think they sit like monks in a cell, balancing right against wrong? Yesterday I would have killed Munt because I thought him evil and an enemy, but not today. Today he is evil and my friend.
And I took that kind of, if you theorize that he suspected already that they were going to shoot her going over, that was almost like the archetypal scene where the owner's trying to get rid of a dog and saying, bad boy, go on, I don't want you, that kind of thing, making her not love him.
Right.
But we don't know. We won't know.
Right.
I like how the whole thing sounds like Jean le Carré's take on James Bond.
Yeah.
No, it is.
It definitely is like let's cut the crap.
And it's definitely intended to be like a darker,
nearly that glamorous.
Exactly. It's
less
ugly
glamorous. Business. They're the pawns. Type
and it's
thing.
mundane.
Yeah, it's very tedious.
Yeah, tedious, unglamorous. It is not what they're selling you.
I really enjoyed it though, Todd.
Yeah, it's
I'm
good.
glad you picked this one, and like I was saying, I could double dip on this because it fits the criteria of the Chop Shop Challenge.
Yes.
So I finally got a check in on that. Author Jean le Carré worked for British intelligence MI5 and MI6 during the 50s and 60s, and worked in Berlin, where this movie is partially set. Le Carré was there when the Berlin Wall was being constructed and drew upon his real-life experiences for the novel.
Wow.
Interesting.
All right, my movie is Goodbye Lenin, the story of the breakup of the Beatles. It was sad for everyone. 2003's Goodbye Lenin is one of those movies that is about after the Berlin Wall and after unification. and how traumatic that transition was in itself. And that's symbolized in a couple of the plot points of the movie. It's directed by Wolfgang Becker. We've got a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. And it stars Daniel Bruhl, who would go on to do other things. This was really his big breakout movie, at least for American audiences. But he was in Inglourious Bastards, and he's also in Captain America: Civil War.
Baron Zemo.
And so in October 1989, right before the fall of the Berlin Wall, Alex Kerner, played by Bruhl, is living with his mom, whose name is Christiane, played by Catherine Sass, and sister Ariane, played by Maria Simon. But when the mother, a loyal party member, sees Alex participating in an anti-communist rally, and he gets beaten up for his participation, she falls into a coma, has a heart attack, and isn't attended to right away, and falls into a coma. But she misses the whole revolution. She misses the wall coming down and reunification. After she wakes up, doctors say that any jarring event could make her have another heart attack, could basically kill her. It could be fatal. And so the family interprets this as they need to go to great lengths to pretend that communism still reigns in East Berlin.
Because she made herself a loyal party member after her no-good husband left.
Supposedly with a mistress.
Yes.
And that's what she tells the kid.
A West German whore.
You're right. The film is set in East Berlin from October 89 to shortly after German reunification in 1990. It follows Alex Kerner, whose mother, we already covered that. When Christiane awakens 8 months later, doctors warn her fragile health cannot withstand any shocks, and to protect her, they orchestrate an elaborate deception to convince her that East Germany still exists, going so far as to create these fake news stories using existing news footage, and they're like cutting them together with the help of his friend Dennis. And
they're satellite salesmen. They sell satellite dishes to people,
and
it's his partner, and they're like making these fake newscasts.
They also will repurpose Western goods to make them look like Eastern products. But she regains strength and wanders outside of the apartment while he's asleep and starts to notice things like a big Coca-Cola banner hanging up across the street. Eventually reveals her own secret. Her husband fled to the West not for his mistress, but because he refused to join the ruling party. She had kept his letters hidden from the children and had chosen to stay behind out of fear, and because she was a loyal party member. Waiting reconciliation, she wishes to see him before dying. Alex finds his father, who does get to visit her in the hospital. Before her death, Alex produces one final fake broadcast featuring a taxi driver impersonating his childhood hero, the first Russian cosmonaut.
Yuri Gagarin?
It wasn't Yuri Gagarin, but it was somebody like that.
Gotcha.
A early cosmonaut. A final broadcast to explain the changes. However, Christiane already knows the truth, having been told by the sister Lara. Christiane dies peacefully, and the family honors her memory by scattering her ashes with a toy rocket from his childhood. I thought it was pretty good. I had never seen this. I had heard of it before, and I thought it was a good kind of later interpretation. It's more of a modern movie, and that's fitting for it being after the fall of the wall.
I thought it was a very sweet movie, and I like the cast.
Sweet.
I like the cast a lot. Like the mother, the sister, even the girlfriend, I thought were fantastic.
And you have to imagine that even though it was a good thing that the wall came down and that Germany reunified, it had to be kind of traumatic. There had to be a certain amount of institutionalization, just like it's hard to get out of Shawshank and take a pee without say so.
Get caught in those patterns.
And so, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't great, but it was good.
I liked it. I thought it was interesting, and And Brule is really good in it as a youngster.
One final fun fact, there was heavy use of CGI in this movie to make, even though they were in East Berlin, they needed to make it look less Western because apparently it's been heavily gentrified. So they used a lot of CGI for that.
Oh, cool.
Crazy.
So bookending is the theme right now because Travis covered the end of the Berlin portion of the Cold War. And I made a comment to him this morning on text that it's funny that there was this Coca-Cola scene with the big banner, and then they're filming in front of the Coca-Cola place as part of their fake newscast to this story that they've trumped up for his mother to make her transition a little bit easier into her convalescence. My movie is from 1961, at the very beginning of all of this, and it's called 1, 2, 3, and it's a screwball comedy about the Berlin Wall.
Huh.
It's directed by Billy Wilder, and it stars James Cagney, Horst Buchholz, Pamela Tiffin, Arlene Francis, Hans Lother, and Liselette Pulver. People you don't know, some names you may have heard. So C.R. McNamara, played by James Cagney, he'll do anything to get a promotion within the Coca-Cola Company, including looking after boss W.P. Hazeltine's rebellious teenage daughter, Scarlett.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When Scarlett visits Berlin, where C.R. is stationed, she reveals that she is married to a communist named Otto Piffel. And C.R. recognizes that Otto's anti-establishment stance will clash with the boss's own political views, possibly jeopardizing his promotion. If you can imagine, like, George Jetson's persona in, like, Mr. Spacely's company and how he's always worried about his stature in the company, that's exactly what's at play here. It's a commercial for Coca-Cola, by the way.
Yeah.
In case you didn't know. But it's really interesting because, as I said, this is at the beginning of the construction of the Berlin Wall. So it's very, I mean, the fact that they're even doing a screwball comedy about it is kind of odd, but it's very innocent in its portrayal. Like, there are a lot of scenes where they're shot at the Brandenburg Gate pretty freely, shooting at will, and even the East German side, they've got a lot of freedom to shoot that stuff as well. There's some quotes in here that are fucking hilarious. The East Germans, they say to McNamara, we have a trade agreement with Cuba. They send us cigars. We send them rockets. This is before the Bay of Pigs.
Yes.
Oh, man.
And there's some talk about with McNamara and his wife. She's always wanting to go back home. Why can't we just go back home and you just take a job with corporate in America? And James Cagney says, Atlanta's just Siberia with mint juleps. There are some touches of propaganda of like demeaning the Russians. There's a scene where they're being pursued by the Russian police, and there's a scene where their steering wheel literally breaks in half in their Russian car because it's so cheaply made. There's a mind-blowing stunt in this, by the way, and I still can't wrap my brain around how it happened. So there is a big obfuscation involved with the communist that this girl has married. Oh, and she's also been knocked up as well. That's the reason that they have to go through with the marriage. But there's a big production to make him seem like someone that he's not, so that the father will accept him into the family. And so they make him into like this duke or somebody who's being heired a huge sum of money. He's royalty. And so they have like all of these tailors and people come in to bring in clothes and shoes, and they construct this whole adoption from this duke, and so he actually has papers to prove that he is who he says he is. It's very convoluted.
All I could think for a second there was Prince Ali, amorous he, Ali Ababa.
Very much. So but there's a scene where he comes into his duke father, quote unquote, meets him for the first time, and he goes in to give him a kiss on each cheek. The duke has a monocle that he's wearing, and as he's giving the kid the kiss, the monocle transfers to the kid.
What?
And I'm like, how did you do that? like I watched it over and over, and I cannot understand how they fucking did this stunt.
cool,
It's
man.
really cool. There is a meta scene where there's a military policeman. He does a James Cagney impression to his face.
Nice.
And I was like, oh fucking hell, you did it. And then there's another thing that's kind of foretelling. They're talking about crazy, wacky ideas of things that you're trying to do with Coca-Cola. We must look beyond the 6-pack. Why not a 9-pack or a 12-pack?
Nice.
And I was like, okay,
Now
yeah.
prescient.
So anyway,
They were doing some little product place. Or
lot,
product,
as I said,
you know,
it is clearly
market,
a Coca-Cola commercial. Travis, what
Speaking
is the
of,
fun fact?
Fun fact, Joan Crawford, who was then on the board of PepsiCo, telephoned director Billy Wilder to protest the movie's Coca-Cola connection.
Wow.
Wilder then added a final scene in which James Cagney buys 4 bottles of Coke from a vending machine, but the last bottle out of the machine is in fact a Pepsi.
Yes.
Ah.
I mean, there's some skewering going on, and obviously some behind-the-scenes shit.
I probably got the same. You probably already got it, but I have a fun fact.
Okay.
This would be James Cagney's last film appearance until he popped up again in Milos Forman's Ragtime in 1981, 20 years later.
Wow.
Interesting to see the front end of the Berlin Wall as a screwball comedy. Obviously, we didn't think it was the threat that it turned out to be, but we all know how that shook out.
I like the gamut of films that we've done, and they're just positioned at the beginning. The spy version,
Yep.
the refugees trying to escape,
The escape, and then, of course, the end.
yeah, and then of course, heaven above looking down upon the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we covered all this, the whole
The
spectrum.
kind of a
the
gamut.
humanist take.
Yeah,
That's the Berlin Wall. Good job, everybody.
that was really
We
good.
did good.
All right.
Yeah. Our next episode, what do we decide? We're going to do sequel better than the first?
Oh, whatever's good with me.
Yeah, let's do the sequel is better than the first. It's one of our categories in our Cinema Chop Shop movie challenge that you can find on Letterboxd. I almost said Untapped.
So, are we supposed to defend the movie that we selected for the challenge?
If you want to, if you've gotten to that point, if
Okay.
you've checked it in, I think that would be a good thing to bring to the
Okay.
table.
It's just a reason for me to get a check-in on this
Sure.
So,
shit.
so we just basically picked 2 movies. The,
The original and the sequel. It is against the idiom of this entire show, but it does happen. There are times when the sequel is better than the first.
Yeah.
We're gonna take that on. Why not? Fuck
I
it.
would like to say before I forget, circling back one last time to Wings of Desire, just little things that slipped in. Something I forgot to mention was at one point the angels, as they're just walking and talking and listening, mention the people from Night Crossing, referring to
who escaped
refugees,
in the air balloon.
that people were trying to get out of the city, and it's like even those refugees were trying to get out. And it was just a nice touch because like I never would have put all that together, just little non-connectors that just kind of work nicely.
Plugs? Anybody got anything they want to plug? Any movies that have like gripped you that you must talk about?
It just came out this week on Netflix. American Manhunt: Osama bin Laden.
Oh, wow.
3-part limited series, and it is fantastic. It starts with 9/11, and then goes through the Obama administration and what went into killing him. They have interviews with a lot of the key players, including the Navy SEAL who shot bin Laden is one of the key guys they interview, and it was very fascinating. A lot of footage that had never been released before, including during the raid of the compound where bin Laden was hiding. They had some of the footage that they shared.
Do they have
and
the
it was, yeah.
part where Obama says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him"?
Yeah, they do. They show part of the speech, not the whole thing. But yes,
say
they
that
show
part,
him
though, where
walking down the.
They show the part where he holds up the decapitated head for the crowd.
That they edited
Sets
that
it
out.
upon
That's been
display.
scrubbed.
Edited that out. Yes. But
Redacted.
no, it was the level of detail was just really and hearing the different
Super in-depth.
players involved, different. Yeah. So and it was kind of moving at times too. So anyway, yeah.
Anyone else?
I recently watched Lupin the Third, the First. It is an animated film from G Kids Productions. It is a modern take on the character Lupin the Third, which is a manga created by a gentleman named Monkey Punch.
Monkey
in which
Punch.
Is that his Christian name?
It's my favorite
I think it
sexual
is.
maneuver.
I think it is.
The monkey
It is
punch?
the monkey punch.
Yeah.
Deep penetration. But it's a wonderful animated film. It's a very updated take on the old characters. One of the best known versions of Lupin is a film called The Castle of Cagliostro, which is essentially Hayao Miyazaki's first feature film.
I know the character you're talking about.
And that's Lupin and his buddies, and this is done in completely 3D animation. And it's beautiful. It's a little slight. It's a little thin, but I mean, it's not reinventing the wheel. But it's actually, if you go back and watch Cagliostro and then watch this, or back and forth, it's a nice little wraparound.
Cool.
You get great characters. Screwball, very slapstick.
Okay.
Very slapstick.
Nothing for you?
Nope.
All right, well, that's it. We're going to wrap it up. Please remember to check us out on all the social medias. We're Cinema Chop Shop there, except for YouTube and Blue Sky. We're Cinema Chop Shop Podcast. Reach out and tell people you love them. Be kind to others and do nice things for strangers and shock them and surprise them. And we'll see you next time. So please remember to
Watch, shop, retrofit.
And take your vaccines.
Did you want to say something?
No.